This is James Rees for Razorwire. Welcome back. It's a beautiful day outside. It's hot, it's sticky, and what better than to do a video on the latest in the ransomware craze that's going around at the moment. As we all know, there's been a number of other places hit. If you've been living under a rock, there's been one of the largest meat providers, packagers, importers, exporters, whatever you want to call it, who got hit with ransomware as well. There's reports of other organizations who've also been hit. The trend seems to be continuing. Interestingly, there's been some news on the Colonial Pipeline payment of, I think it was $4 million that was paid to them to get the decryption key. Basically, the US Department of Justice, if you see me looking over to the side and checking out the notes, yesterday says that it's recovered 63.7 bitcoins, right now worth about 2.1 million, of the 75 or so bitcoins that were the Colonial Pipeline paid. So the big win for the Colonial Pipeline and the fight against ransomware. Evidently, so the reports say, the feds managed to gain access to the wallet with the relevant keys to recover that set of Bitcoin and the money, or some of the money at least. Interesting that should happen. It kind of goes to show that maybe the money was kind of in the process of being sort of moved around, sold off, turned into other coins, that kind of thing. Evidently, they've already done some of that, the people who originally did this. But I'm guessing they got caught kind of midway through. I mean, the payment had only been made a few weeks back. I would have thought they would have shifted it by now. But seemingly not. So it's been tracked through to a particular set of wallets. The feds have managed to gain access via the keys and dragged that, so at least some of that cash back, which is relatively good news for people out there who've been hit by ransomware. There is the possibility that people could do that again, but on the flip side, now that the news is broken, obviously the people the malcontents who originally did it are now aware that this could happen. They're going to be a lot more careful about shifting their Bitcoin around and converting it and cleaning it, so to speak. What does this mean in the long run? I think this is probably going to be one of the only times they're actually able to do this. I think in the future, any ransomware crew that managed to get payments are going to be a lot more careful about what they're doing with the Bitcoin that they receive. I don't think they're going to be able to do this too often to recover said Bitcoin. I think it's going to be split up, broke up, shifted around various different wallets until it's gone. And for that amount of money, high amounts of money, that's what I would do personally. Needless to say, the fight against ransomware is still continuing. We're still seeing more and more compromises. A bit more interesting news on the Colonial Pipeline. Apparently, it was a compromised VPN account that was partially, how they got in, how they managed to ransomware the organization. Kind of just goes to show that we need to start looking a little bit more at our security countermeasures and defense in depth measures. We've done other videos where we've discussed the fact that times have changed. There's a lot more people working from home. VPN access is becoming a big thing for people who are working from home. We've had to expand out our VPN operations in our organizations quite a bit to allow people access to the relevant information they need to undertake their daily workloads. And it kind of just shows that really we need to sit down and look objectively at how we secure our environments going forward. Traditional security countermeasures aren't completely defunct, but the way that we work, as I mentioned before, has completely changed now. So it's now time for us to review the security of our operations. Security has been a rising light in the business world for a number of years now. Prior to that, it was very much viewed as a nice to have rather than a verified need to have, although some organizations were a lot more secure than others. Now it's become pretty evident that we have to secure our environments, and this is something that we've been advocating for quite a long time. So how do we do this? Well, we need to start seriously thinking about multi-factor authentication. We need to layer that with things like encryption. You know, we don't necessarily need to encrypt absolutely everything. It'd be great to be able to encrypt everything, but let's look at this objectively. It can be a bit of a problem doing that from a usability point of view. There's a number of different tools out there that you can do to, you know, encrypt your critical data. Some products are better than others, and I think we're going to go through a big revolution of updating our security portfolios internally with encryption, especially on if you're undertaking data classification and you've got top secret, public, so on and so forth. It makes sense now to start looking at that kind of encryption products that you can use for that top secret information, because in the event of a breach, if you do have one, if that data is encrypted, you know, you do proper key management as well, then even if they get access to your data, they can't decrypt it. You know, if they don't have the keys to decrypt it, it's going to be extremely hard for them to decrypt that and then publish that out. So, you know, what are we looking at? Make sure you have decent email security. Make sure you have decent multi-factor authentication for everybody connecting into your infrastructure. Make sure you have proper IDS, IPS, up-to-date endpoint security, decent firewalls, review your firewall rules on a regular basis. You should be doing that anyway. All of these different component pieces, along with good security awareness training, I might point out, for staff to be able to spot potential spearfishing, to be able to spot, you know, issues that might be occurring, making sure that you have good log management and you've got people reviewing logs, you know, and tune your scenes to make sure that you're getting the right alerts as well. All of that will go a long way to reducing the chance that you're going to get compromised. And even if you do, the encryption and some of the other countermeasures on your defense in depth model will prevent any access to the data that has potentially been exfiltrated out. All of these things are going to become more and more important. I do urge you to have a look. Now, if you're an organization who is looking to upgrade your security countermeasures and have a review of them, I do urge you to get the relevant professionals in to help you do that. Get some information security professionals or an organization who specializes in that, such as Razorthorn. We're more than happy to help out. You know, yes, it does mean you're going to have a bit of an outlay because you're going to have to update some of your countermeasures, software, cyber-based countermeasures, but it's better to do that than have to pay a $4 million or $40 million ransom to some ransomware, you know, crews in order to get your data back and to stop it from going out into the wider world. You know, it's actually cheaper to build your security properly, rather than have to not only pay for gaining access to your data and preventing it from being pushed out to the big wider world, but also suffering the PR damage, the media views, the comments you're going to get from people on, you know, whether or not your security is any good. I mean, damage to your organization's reputation can cost you quite a significant amount of money. So don't get in that situation. Look objectively at your infrastructure. Understand the DNA of your business. Understand how your business operates. Run, you know, security tests, penetration tests, vulnerability scans in an almost continuous way. Maybe not the pen test, but definitely the vulnerability scans to understand, you know, where your vulnerabilities lie, and then objectively and efficiently and effectively kind of address any vulnerabilities that come up, so you can be sure that you're maintaining an adequate security posture. as I said before, security doesn't need to be expensive. It just needs to be effective. And by creating defense in depth, by layering your defensive measures, both from a cybersecurity perspective with software, hardware, devices, virtual infrastructure, VLANs, whatever it may well be, ensure that you've got security awareness training so people can be able to spot dodgy links, in emails. Make sure that you're educating your staff on the different types of attacks that could occur, especially things like social engineering. We are starting to see an interesting trend towards spearfishing campaigns where miscreants have been fingerprinting an organization for quite a while and understanding how the organization works before attempting to change account details and exfiltrate out information or gain access to funds. I've had at least 3 or 4 different conversations over the last 6 weeks or so where organizations have been experiencing that. And it's not new, it's been going on for a while. But at the moment when times are hard, people are getting desperate, people with these types of skills will be undertaking these types of attacks. You've got to remember these are people, and some of them may have been made redundant. Some of them might not, have any jobs. Some of them, sure, are just doing it for the money because it's easy. But as people get desperate, the more likely some individuals who've got these skills may turn to doing this kind of thing. And of course, there's big money to be made. 40 million paid by CNA Reinsurance, for a good example. And there's a lot you can do to protect yourself against it. So don't sit around. Don't wait for something terrible to happen to you. Objectively look at what you're doing, your organization, your countermeasures, your defense in depth measures, your awareness training, and make sure that you cater for all of that. Because trust me, it's going to be less expensive to put those countermeasures in place than it is to have a breach. That's James Reese for Razorwire. I don't know whether or not we're going to have any more videos on ransomware. Obviously, anything big happening, I'll cover it. But I think we've gone pretty much as far as we can with this subject matter. If you have a difference of opinion, fantastic. Get in touch with us. Either leave a comment or use some of the details in the description to drop us a line and let us know what you need or what you're interested in, and maybe I'll cover things in a little bit more depth. And we've got a brand new item coming out relatively soon called Spotlight on Technology. Now, Spotlight on Technology set of videos is where we're going to look at things like encryption, we're going to look at things like comms, we're going to invite some of the vendors that we know very well who've got very good products to come in, talk to us about the trends and issues within that space, and also, how some of their products can absolutely help. Watch out for those. We're going to start filming those relatively soon. But for now, thank you very much for watching. It's been great speaking to you, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.